My colleagues refers to this as not a carbon emissions reductions bill, but an international and agricultural aid bill. Anyway, this is the big picture of Waxman-Markey, and moving right along. And now we're going to get back to the electricity price stuff. So first of all, I just want to show you these two figures, which are intended just that you can build a little faith that my model isn't stupid. Where this left-hand figure shows a baseline scenario. Suppose that there was no Waxman-Markey, what will happen? No climate bill at all, what will happen? On the right-hand side is the Waxman-Markey scenario. And I'm reporting here national electricity prices. And on each figure showing you, the red line is the haiku model results. The green line is the EPA results. And the blue line is the EIA, which is the part of the Department of Energy that's responsible for energy modeling. And so, the basic idea here is that the haiku model results are basically in the neighborhood of the other model results. And so, so there we go. Moving right along. And here is the first result about Indiana. So the red line, in this case, is the baseline projection. If no climate bill happens, Indiana's electricity prices are going to continue to rise, mainly driven by continually increasing demand for electricity. But if there's a Waxman-Markey bill, then the prices will instead jump by this amount. And so the electricity price effects are going to get bigger and bigger over time, mainly because the cap gets tighter and tighter over time. And so here's the first point. Governor O'Malley says at least double. Well, I think maybe 23%. So, whether you think these are big impacts or small impacts, these are the impacts. And now there are only 2 slides left in my presentation, and they're a little complicated, but they really tell a story, I think. So let's take a walk through. This first one here, right, we're talking about the allocation to local distribution companies. And so I want to study that in particular, the allocation. So these results are from a modeling scenario that assumes Waxman-Markey is in place, except that 30% that goes to LDCs vanishes. Okay, so this is Waxman-Markey without any LDC allocation. And this is broken down here by different regions of the country. And the gray lines in the back are showing the carbon emissions intensity of electricity generation. And so the point is here that I sorted these out from left to right according to the least carbon intensive regions, all the way out to the most carbon intensive regions, and there's Indiana. And then the bars are the part that I really want to get into here, because first of all, let's talk about the orange bars, which are showing the difference under this scenario between regional electricity prices and national average electricity prices. So the point here is that it's the case currently, it will continue to be the case, that the Northeast pays by far the most money for electricity at 45% above the national average. And the Northwest pays the least. That's largely because they have so much hydropower at their disposal. And Indiana is, not the least, but anyway, it's whatever it is there, 15, 16, 17% below the national average. So, okay, and then the blue lines are showing price increases that are likely to result from the imposition of the policy. So if a Waxman-Markey bill that didn't have any allocation to LDCs were to become law, then this is what the model says would happen. In every single region, electricity prices would rise. That shouldn't be a surprise. And broadly speaking, the further you go to the right, the bigger are the effects, which follows from the CO2 emissions intensity of generation. And Central Appalachia there, that's West Virginia. They're really going to get slammed. But the state that's next worst off under the scenario is Indiana. And I think it's thinking along this figure that drives folks to suggest that the Indiana economy is really in trouble under a Waxman-Markey bill. And it would indeed be, an 18% increase or something in electricity prices, which would still leave prices well below the national average. But anyway, it would be a big increase. Good. Now this slide is showing essentially, well, it is showing what happens under Waxman-Markey, including the local distribution company reallocation of value, of allowance value back through an electricity subsidy back to consumers. And it's a huge effect for Indiana. If you think in your mind the difference between the last slide and this slide, that's telling you what is the impact of this allocation. Where, because Indiana is so consumption intensive and so emissions intensive, it gets a huge part. It gets more than any other state except for West Virginia. It gets more dollars per head out of this allocation. And so the electricity prices fall a lot. And in fact, the model suggests that the electricity prices will rise by only a little bit more than 5%. I should say, I forgot to mention, by the way, oh good, that all these results are for the year 2020. In different years, they'd be a little bit different, but this is sort of like the average story. I think I'm finished. Thank you.